law of attraction and Neville Goddard's methods. Two ideas that have been diluted, softened, and widely misunderstood until almost nothing of their original force remains. Tonight we restore them to their proper weight. Before we examine results, we must first understand origin. The concept now called the law of attraction did not begin on social media or in pastel self-help books. Its roots stretch across centuries, from ancient observations about the power of focused attention to the understanding that what a man consistently holds in consciousness tends to organize his outer experience. Across traditions, the same underlying pattern appears. The quality of a man's inner state shapes what he notices, what he pursues, what he tolerates, and ultimately what he becomes capable of receiving. Among the clearest and most disciplined teachers of this process was Neville Goddard. In the mid-20th century, he presented a precise and demanding method. Reality, he taught, responds not to occasional positive thoughts, not to hopeful wishing, but to the state of consciousness a man persistently occupies. His central instruction was direct and uncompromising. Assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled, live in the end, and remain in that state until the outer world has no choice but to conform. Most men who encounter these ideas fail. They reduce them to soft visualization or wishful thinking. They avoid the inner discipline the process actually requires. They treat imagination as entertainment rather than as the workshop where identity is forged. Welcome, brother. We are Nameless Paradox. Tonight we remove the soft packaging. We will examine the law of attraction and Neville Goddard's methods as a system of directed consciousness for men who refuse to remain average. Men who understand that power begins inside and that the outer world is simply the delayed reflection of the state a man refuses to leave. What the law of attraction actually is. At its foundation, the law of attraction is straightforward. Where attention is consistently placed, energy follows. Where energy is sustained, results begin to organize. A man's dominant thoughts, emotional tone, and repeated inner focus shape what he notices, what opportunities he recognizes, what risks he is willing to take, and what standards he is willing to uphold. This is not mysticism. It is the practical mechanics of human perception and behavior. Most men engage this force unconsciously, and often against themselves. They dwell on lack. They replay fear. They fixate on what is missing, what was taken, what should have happened by now. Their attention remains locked on limitation, and their actions remain correspondingly small. They wake up already behind, already defending, already explaining why more is not possible. And the outer world, with perfect consistency, continues to confirm the state they occupy. A smaller number of men learn to direct this force with intention. They combine clear inner focus with consistent outer action. They do not wait for the world to change before they change their relationship to it. It is in that combination, directed consciousness joined to exacting standards, that meaningful results begin to appear. Neville Goddard refined this understanding into a practical system. He taught that the outer world reflects a man's dominant inner state, not his occasional thoughts, not the affirmations he repeats for 5 minutes in the morning, but the state of being he persistently occupies throughout the day and into the night. The man who remains in the state of the one who lacks will continue to experience lack no matter how many vision boards he creates. The man who successfully occupies the state of the one who already has, already is, already lives from the end, begins to notice that the outer world slowly rearranges itself around that assumption. This is the law of attraction stripped of decoration. Sustained attention, emotional tone, and identity determine the field of possibility a man lives inside. Why most men fail. Most men fail with these ideas for the same reasons. They treat the law of attraction as a substitute for effort rather than a multiplier of it. They visualize outcomes while avoiding the discomfort required to reach them. They focus on wanting instead of becoming the man for whom those outcomes are natural. They remain emotionally reactive, swinging between hope and frustration, instead of holding stable inner direction. In Neville's language, they stay in the state of lack. They never fully assume the state of fulfillment. After a brief trial with no instant change, they abandon the assumption and return to waiting and explaining. They try to attract new results while remaining the same man. That rarely works. The outer world does not reward surface thoughts. It responds to the man who changes the state from which those thoughts arise. Strong men reverse the sequence. They first raise the inner state and daily standard. They decide who they are becoming and live from that decision immediately, in posture, speech, decisions, and what they will no longer tolerate. Outer results follow. Most men want the fruit without tending the root. Strong men know the root is identity, trained through persistent assumption joined to non-negotiable action. Neville Goddard's core techniques. Here are the essential methods Neville taught, presented without softening for disciplined men. The law of assumption, when persisted in, hardens into fact. You do not wait for outer evidence before occupying the new state. You assume it first. You generate the inner conviction that it is already so, and you remain there until the outer world has no choice but to reflect it. This is not denial of present circumstances. It is the deliberate choice to stop letting present circumstances dictate the state you live from. The man who waits for proof before assuming remains forever waiting. The man who assumes first begins to create the conditions in which proof becomes inevitable. Living in the end. This is the central practice. You construct a short, vivid, imaginal scene that implies the desire is already fulfilled. You do not visualize the struggle of becoming. You do not rehearse the steps. You enter a scene that could only be true if the desire were already realized, and you feel the naturalness of already being that man. You remain there until the feeling of the wish fulfilled becomes more familiar than the feeling of lack. The more natural the end state becomes in imagination, the more the outer world is compelled to catch up. Feeling is the secret. Repetition without feeling produces little. What impresses the deeper mind is the emotional reality of the fulfilled state. Not forced excitement, not manufactured enthusiasm, but the calm, settled conviction that it is already done. Desperation interferes. Anxiety about timing interferes. The need to force the result interferes. Stable assumption advances the process. When you can rest in the feeling that it is already true without needing the outer world to confirm it moment by moment, you have begun to operate correctly. Imaginal acts. You create precise mental scenes. Specific sensory-rich moments that could only be true if the desire were already realized. A conversation that has already happened, a place you already occupy, a recognition that has already been given. You return to these scenes with focus until they begin to feel more solid than current circumstances. The goal is not to escape reality. The goal is to impress a new reality so deeply that the old one loses its authority over you. Revision. At the close of the day, you mentally revise moments that reinforced weakness or limitation. You replay them as you would have preferred them to unfold, not as fantasy, but as the version of events that aligns with the man you have decided to be. Over time, this alters the emotional imprint those events left behind. You stop carrying the weight of every small failure as evidence of who you are. You rewrite the emotional record so that the dominant state remains the one you chose. Persistence. None of these methods succeed through occasional effort. You remain in the new assumption even when outer conditions appear unchanged. Most men abandon the state at the first delay, the first contradiction, the first moment the world refuses to immediately validate them. The rare man continues. He treats the delay as irrelevant. He understands that the outer world is lagging, not leading. Persistence is not stubborn hope. It is disciplined refusal to return to the former state. These are not techniques for the passive. They are instruments for the man who has decided that his inner world will no longer be dictated by temporary conditions. How strong men apply these methods? Here is how a peak male applies this system without falling into passivity or self-delusion. First, clarify identity rather than mere outcome. Do not only assume possession of a result, assume the identity of the man for whom that result is natural. The money, the body, the relationship, the status. These are effects. The cause is the kind of man who naturally generates and sustains them. Work on the cause. Second, unite imaginal work with non-negotiable action. Inner assumption sharpens and sustains outer movement. It does not replace it. The man who assumes the end and then refuses to move is practicing fantasy. The man who assumes the end and then acts from that assumption with consistency is practicing power. Third, guard the dominant state throughout the day. Each time you react from lack, self-pity, or emotional disorder, you reinforce the former identity. Notice it without drama. Return to the assumed state. This is daily training, not a one-time event. Fourth, employ the alter ego as a bridge. Step into the version of yourself who already lives from the end. Speak as he would speak. Decide as he would decide. Carry yourself with the quiet certainty of a man who no longer needs to prove anything because the matter is already settled internally. Use this as a practical tool until the new identity becomes automatic. Fifth, treat persistence as disciplined strength. The capacity to remain in a chosen inner state despite temporary outer conditions is itself a form of power. Most men collapse the moment reality fails to applaud them. Strong men treat the lag between assumption and manifestation as the arena in which character is tested and refined. This is not soft visualization. This is directed consciousness joined to exacting standards. It is the refusal to remain average in the one domain that determines everything else, the state from which you live, final truth. The law of attraction is not magic. Neville Goddard's methods are not fantasy. They describe the interaction between sustained attention, emotional state, identity, and repeated action. Most men will continue using their imagination against themselves, rehearsing lack, fear, limitation, and the story of why more is not available to them. They will keep feeding the same state and then act surprised when the same results keep appearing. A few men will learn to aim it with precision. They will decide the state first. They will persist in it. They will act from it. And over time, the difference compounds across years until the gap between the average man and the deliberate man becomes almost unbridgeable. So the question is direct. Are you still occupying the state of the man who lacks? Or are you deliberately occupying the state of the man who has already become? Drop in the comments. Which of these techniques are you prepared to practice with real consistency beginning now? If this resonated, like the video. Share it with a man who is still treating desire as a wish rather than a directed inner state. Follow Nameless Paradox. We are building a powerful male society, one man who stops waiting and begins assuming at a time. Thank you for remaining until the end. Stay dangerous, stay intentional. Your dominant state is already shaping your life. Now decide which state you will persist in. I'll see you in the next one.